Do you think Alberta's sovereignty is possible within the current system of Canada of confederation?
It's not even possible, really.
Can you give us, first off, maybe just an overarching update? Has anything changed since the election with Alberta separation? Has it picked up steam? I know obviously media is quiet down about it. Where are we at with that? And then we'll get into some details.
It definitely picked up steam in the weeks after the election, but you can feel it already slowing down, right? One group out of the gate that was super strong was the Alberta Prosperity Project. I think you've had guests from them on the show. They've done an amazing job of their mandate is to educate people. I think they've taken on more of a political role than just education, because now they're promoting the referendum and collecting signatures to force a referendum on separation. So in the last month, they must have collected like 300,000-400,000 signatures, if not more. So that's going on well. The appearance of the Republican Party of Alberta under Cam Davis has been super interesting to watch. He's got a great opportunity. There's 3 by-elections happening right now, 2 in the Edmonton area and 1 in Three Hills. I've put my support behind that. I do think that having, a lot of people say another right leaning party will just split the right. I'm like, the UCP does that to themselves already. I mean, I live in Cochrane Airdrie, where the UCP kicked my MLA out of the caucus. So if that's not splitting the party, I don't know what is. So they do it to themselves. And then the UCP themselves, Danielle, she's not truly a separatist. I mean, some of her comments lately, she's definitely for a more sovereign Alberta within Confederation. But so the groups are all moving, and I think that's okay. I'm an observer at this point. I lend my voice to many causes, but I do not properly belong to any of those groups, and I'm letting them all I'm watching them all before I kind of throw at one point I will probably throw a lot of weight behind one option to lead towards a separate Alberta, but I'm not at that point yet.
If you could, I always talk about this wave a wand theory, meaning like if you could just make whatever happen, what would you make happen if you could see a perfect scenario?
My perfect scenario is that Danielle would see that her political strategy of trying to keep as many people happy while promoting an independent. My perfect strategy would be Danielle would have an epiphany and realize that just writing strong letters won't work, and that she would get behind without us having to do a petition. She would just say we're going to have a referendum on with an independence question, which would give her a huge mandate.
So Alberta separate from Canada, not a 51st state, just separate from Canada.
No matter what, it's not the first step, right? No matter what, an independent Alberta has to be an independent Alberta first.
Do you not think she's trying to do that by throwing it to the citizens and saying, you guys lead and then we'll follow? Like, what is the difference between her throwing it to citizens versus her party and her as premier leading it or initiating it?
It could be that she's throwing it as an easy, hoping that it gets defeated, just as much as she's hoping that it gets that it's successful, right? So I'll give you guys enough rope to hang yourselves with, kind of thing. So I'm not sure. I haven't figured out what the strategy of Bill whatever C-71 or whatever her, I haven't figured that out yet. Yeah.
But don't you think it's just a diplomatic approach to representing the people in the province on both parties? Like, don't you think that is what she's trying to do? That's the impression I get. She's trying to represent, take herself out of the equation and represent both.
Yes, on the pragmatically speaking, that's definitely what it looks like. What she's doing, I think mostly that is what she's doing. Ruling, calling or leading. Ruling at this point, not leading. If she was leading, then she would have an opinion and
Yes. I get what
guide
you're
that
saying. Yeah.
opinion. But
Okay.
at this point, she's ruling, which is listening to the people and sort of just going with the flow.
Very interesting.
And in the last little while, I think that's one of the constant problems we have in this country is that people call it, well, that's what politics are. You're supposed to, just go with the will of the people. I'm like, yeah, but there's also an aspect of guiding,
Yes.
because as the politician, you have access to more data and
Yes.
information than the rest of us have. So, because if you're just entirely relying on us and you're just,
We put you in there for your instincts.
for your instincts
yeah.
and for your,
Yeah.
Well, next week we're having, I think Bruce Party's joining us actually
Yeah.
in house next week, which will be great. And I want to ask him this question, but
I've met him many times.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Well, he's a friend of
amazing.
ours too. We've gotten
Yeah.
to know him quite a while, and I just love picking his brain on some of these deeper questions. But do you think Alberta's sovereignty is possible within the current system of Canada of confederation? Do you think, or you think that's too far gone? Because you talk to guys like Jeffrey Rath or others.
Too far gone.
It's not going to find an equal a balance of power, so to speak, like it was meant to be.
It's not even possible.
Really?
It's not even possible because of just looking at that map of Canada, and you draw that little line at the 46th parallel or whatever, and then you look at the number of people underneath that line. Underneath the line that includes Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa, you got half the population.
Yeah.
Done. There's nothing you can do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. A pure democracy the way we have it, with equal representation. No. You'll always have a small group who are rapidly becoming culturally different than us. And so then it becomes majority rules, and the majority rules that has a different opinion. If those people don't like oil, don't like guns, and don't like you owning land,